Okay, hello everybody. It's flooding, it's raining. I can't go outside. I'm trapped in the house, and so I had a lot of time to think. And with that being said, like some of the conversations I've seen, not just on social media, on TV. So lately, I've been watching the show Queen Sugar. I've been also watching. It's another show. What is it called? Um, Greenleaf. And then so I'll talk about those later. It's pretty good shows. I actually like it. I watch a lot of shows that even though I don't agree with the premise, I do feel like it's important that those shows are made because the way I look at all types of media, not just social media, because if we forget TV, phone, all of those things are media. And the word means a medium, a way to do something, a means to achieve some type of end. And that end is to communicate. When we think about media, I think we forget that these type of things are, it may not be forever, but in terms of our lifestyle and our thought process, the capacity that we have to experience things, it is forever. Because within our lifetime, I don't see them wanting to, developing, utilizing, and making prominent something that will make all of these things obsolete yet. Even like just things in the past, you have pictures that were taken on Polaroid cameras, you have VHS tapes. I mean, they've stopped making a way to play 8-track tapes, so those things are gone, but not gone in our memories because there are people who've recorded it on newer medium. So my point for saying all of that is everything that we say on these things, all our shows, they're going to be seen by future generations. And what that means to me is that they're going to want to know, what does all of this mean? So therefore, in my opinion, I don't think we can have too many people saying the same thing because it's going to be taken as a whole, which means future generations are going to say, oh, okay, well, so many people said this and only a few people said that. And they'll be able to piece together what life was like here for us. At some point in the next couple of weeks, I want to do a video on the people, all our trailblazers, the people that we look up to, the names that we mention a lot when we talk about education and why we have the freedoms that we do have. Not saying that we have all of them or that we have enough, but why do we have the ones that we have with us? I think people forget that life was not easy for them during that time period. Yeah, their peers, appreciated and supported them, but not all of their peers. They still had their day to day struggles. And then the generation before them was probably against it. They understood, why he was doing it, and they did agree with the result is something that we want. But I think that they would have rather him stay alive. In this instance, I'm just talking about Dr. Martin Luther King. He was brought up on one of the reality shows I watched this week. I think that his parents' generation would have wanted him to stay alive. They understood why, they respect him, but they would have rather just keep him alive and let somebody else kid do it. So you have to understand that if you're doing something great, and great in sense of the size, the word meaning size, meaning big. If you're doing something big, whether it's good or bad, whether it's successful or not, you're going to have a lot of people that wish you didn't. It does affect your life and the lives of those around you. So you have to understand that that's what some of the pushback is. But I'll talk about that later. Today, what I've been thinking about is why we have such a hard time motivating the youth. It's our generation's turn. We're now talking about how we view the kids, the young adults, the 18 to 25-year-olds now. Me, almost, but not there yet. Almost, right? 40. I do have an opinion. I love this generation. I think I like their attitude. I do. And so I don't really want to hear a whole lot out of people my age who don't like it or people who are older than me who don't like it. It's the means to an ends. And they're not taking and putting up with the same crap that we did. So that's why you're getting a lot of negative views. Overall, as a whole, I don't think that they're just doing a whole lot of, things that are affecting our culture. You have to remember, people don't have a good view of our culture anyway. We didn't start that narrative. That was the narrative that was started so that we could be used in the way that a different culture saw fit. So that's not truly who we are. Later, I'm going to talk about fake outrage too. But anyway, so with all that being said, today, success, right? So for myself, I am I don't fit into a whole lot of the categories that would be considered preferable. I am in fact a baby mom. My kids have different fathers. These were not one night stands, but I'm not trying to make excuses or make it be okay. A lot of the times I'm on platforms and I'm speaking against the very thing that would make my life a lot easier. It's not fun to listen to people say negative things about me and my circumstance. It does sound like excuses, but I think the difference is I'm getting up off of my butt and doing what I need to do. Is it a preferable lifestyle? No, because we all as a whole have come together and agreed on what we think the right answer is. So there are people who get leeway because they did a mistake in a certain manner, and that is considered informative. So I speak out against things that say, yes, it's okay to be a single mom, because to be clear, that was never the dream. That would be irresponsible and disrespectful to say I've always grown up and wanted that for my life. That's just not what happened. And even though I knew and wanted something different, people don't live in a bubble. So there were things that I needed in order to make a different decision that I didn't get, and there were things that I didn't need that actually were around me. The point for all of that is if I don't ever say anything about against it, then other generations are going to grow up and think that it's okay to do, to actively plan towards. Who I try to reach is the person who hasn't yet found their counterpart, and I don't want them to give up on that search and then just say, oh, well, I'll just have a baby anyway, because the baby misses out on things. Now, while my kids don't get to have certain things that other kids do get to have, they're not in the minority. They're not alone in not having both parents in the home for their entire childhood. I would like to make that a regular thing. I would like to make that the norm. I had it, but I didn't get to have it the whole childhood. I wanted to provide that for my kids. I didn't get a chance to. And that's okay if you didn't get a chance to. But I do think that it serves a positive purpose. I agree with it, whether I was able to achieve it or not. So I'm addressing that because it might sound like I'm being a hypocrite. It might sound unintelligent to do so. But basically, leave me alone. It's my thought process and it's something that I agree with. I just didn't get a chance to do it. I make these videos for two audiences. One, for the younger generations to see this, and second, for people of my generation and older to see how to motivate the younger generation. So, what are the things that are being said, right? Okay, so this generation is considered to be amoral, or either they're followers, or the same thing that is said about a lot of other generations, same thing that they said about us until we got to this age, and now we can better articulate and we can show the results of what we were thinking. I think it is ill-advised and counterproductive for you to expect this generation to look at, to accept, and to follow everything that we tell them to do. Why would you expect that? The difference between the people in my generation, the ones that are successful, are the ones that did whatever they wanted to do. And the ones that didn't, the ones that just kept going through whatever, we were taught, they aren't always the most successful. They may have a calm life, but there's nothing extraordinary about it. So I guess the point for this video today is to talk about why I still call myself successful. The answer, in short, is I do it for the kids growing up after me. I didn't grow up in the most affluent neighborhoods, and I had the same struggles as everybody else who grew up in the hood did. The things that were said about my counterparts hit me too. The difference is our attitude. I was considered, smart mouth, disrespectful, but that was only because I didn't accept their label. I've been being written off my whole life since birth. Being born to two married parents in the same household means nothing if those two adults were in a lower income area. And it means nothing to them. It means everything to me. It's my foundation. So, being told that I wasn't going to be anything simply because of where they were raising me seemed very insulting, not just to me, but to the very people to whom I owe my existence in the earthly plane. The earthly, people, not above them, just those two. In addition to some other people that I'll get into maybe later. But how can you ask a kid to choose between teachers and their parents that they go home to every day? So I call myself successful because not only did I make it out, but I had two kids, one before I left and one after, and I still made it out. Without a dad in the home, I was able to pay their bills, teach them and guide them, and raise well-rounded kids in a better environment. Not that, like, to the people, I mean, not y'all, but just the things, y'all know we didn't get the best of everything. They never brought anything over there that wasn't extra, or they were giving it to us because they felt like if they didn't, that we would terrorize them or something. It was always an additional reason behind it. So growing up knowing that, and in an environment where that's the case, where everything you get comes from that thought process, takes a toll on your thought process. So I raised my kids in a place where that wasn't going to be the underlying tone of anybody that interacted with them. I think it's important for me to feel successful and for the kids to see you guys saying that is a good thing, because it will motivate them to get out. The thing that I see when I go back is that the kids don't have a whole lot of hope. They give up. And so what happens when you give up? You have a few people who would still do what we think to be considered the right thing, but the majority don't. They start breaking rules. They create the very thing that all of you people that either didn't grow up there or either made it out and forgot and didn't look back, they create the very thing that you think is making you look bad. Now, I realize over the past couple of weeks, like over the past 2 weeks or so, we've had a lot of disagreements. What I will say is a certain YouTuber, and I don't name names because I don't know if I have their permission to say it, but a certain YouTuber has been getting flack for going up against someone of a different race and essentially, by the general consensus, not presenting the appropriate points and not doing what we expected to come out of that discussion. My answer to that is, okay, well, he was first. Somebody else can do it too. And then just do what you consider to be a better job. That was his message. What's your message? And I can guarantee you that no matter what the message is, when you take it over there, it's not going to be respected, because it's not somebody else's actions that are making you look bad. It's that person's thought process already that created all of the things that contribute to the factors that we use to determine what our behaviors, what our, thoughts are going to be. You already look bad because they needed you to look bad so that they can do what they wanted. One debate isn't responsible for that. There has to be somebody to go first. Sometimes the person that goes first gets it right off top, and sometimes they don't. There are lots of things in the world that we have where the first person matters because they were first and they got it right. And then there are lots of things that we have where the first person got it wrong, but they matter because they were first. And then the person that finally gets it right, they're first to get it right. So we have two people that we admire in their field. So I brought up this debate or whatever because our kids are watching this, and they're watching how we treat one another. And that is a big factor that we like to forget about on how they behave. They're not going to tell you everything. Why would they? Did you tell your parents everything? They're going to still use it, though. They still see it. They still have opinions and thoughts about it. And I'm not saying that you have to just say everything was okay, But what I am saying is that it does still matter. We've had the arguments about educated lames, which I'm going to start calling y'all educated blames, because even though I'm educated, I'm not blaming anyone. And also, you can be educated but not be lame. The lame part is when you are helping to denigrate people that look exactly like you. Because that's what they're judging us on. They're judging us on the look. It's what they've always judged us on. And not all. Not all. We do have some allies. And you need allies. Nobody's ever won any war just in and of themselves. There were people to help. Otherwise, how could you maintain the victory? So, my point, right? Because I do get sidetracked. I'm sorry. Everybody can't be famous. If you don't want kids to all aspire to be LeBron James or Lil Wayne, right? Everybody can't be a rapper. But we tell them that unless you're rich, it doesn't matter. We need to start supporting and, lifting up some people who just did normal stuff. That is a way to be successful. The people who are famous, the people who are rich, they already have supporters. Kids already look up to that, and I understand giving them hope. But if you, it gets to the point where all of the things that we complain about in these kids, why do they give up after the first try? Because at that moment, you're already not set to be number one, so does it still matter? Now you get the thought of, I'm just throwing time, money, and effort after bad. It's not going to work. It's disheartening. I disagree with people who say that, oh, well, we need to talk to the kids the way we were talked to because they just need to be strong and it lets us know who really has it to stick with it. No, because then they get there and they become lame and they think everybody's against them and they want to argue and say that the black community did nothing but tease and bully them. We're seeing right now the impact of what it was that came out of how we were talked to. Why keep doing it? So I disagree with all of that. And in case you're wondering, yes, I do have experience studying and working and practicing in the field of which I am speaking. This is not just, emotional. If you need a reference page or something, just type it down there in the bottom. And some of you are not going to get responses. Let's just be real. And the reason is because if I feel like you're trolling or you're just being a jerk about it, I'm not going to waste my time and energy. So the things we complain about in kids, that's what causes it. That's why everybody would rather be a rapper. That's why I heard somebody this week say that we don't appreciate children. We don't appreciate education in our community. Yeah. Because we're told that the only way anything is successful is who has the biggest amount of money. It is not logically feasible or possible for everybody to be rich. And unless we can get to a thought process where we're all willing to share so that we all have the same amount of money, which may not be a bad thing, because if that's what our culture is going to be about, is sharing and taking care of one another. If our culture is going to be, oh, well, we all have this amount. This is our minimal bar right here. Nobody with our skin color or in our ethnicity has less than this or does less than this. Then fine. But that's going to take work. I don't know, giving some of your excess sometimes. And if you don't want to do that, then you need to think about what I'm saying here today. I'm not going to pressure you guys either way. That's part of my personality and my experience, my interactions with other people is I don't pressure people. I just tell you the pros and cons of what it is that you're saying you're wanting. And either it'll work or either it won't. But these kids are using what we gave them. They're using what we provided for them. And so if you don't like the result, you need to provide more. You need to get there earlier. All you parents who say, do as I say, not as I do, you create all of this that you're mad at right now. You create the parents from when we were kids created all of this that we're going through. A lot of people sound real high schoolish, real childish when I talk to them as an adult. Every time you want to shun somebody for their preference that they have to live through. Now, it's different, and I am a big proponent of educating people on the consequence of their choices because they may not know, especially if they were in a sheltered environment and lied to. We are a culture, I think you guys forget, where it was frowned upon for us to have an assembly. There's a lot of stuff about one another we don't like. It's the reason why these kids are going this crazy on social media, telling everything they know. And as much as you hate it, you should have known that that was a possibility. You shouldn't have done it if you were going to regret it or not want to deal with the consequences of it. If you're enjoying some spoil of competition that now you don't like, that we don't like the way you got it, you're living in fear that it's going to be taken away from you. You should, because that's integrity. That's why there's a certain honor code in all competitions. But never mind. Long story. All the parents that have these stupid comments about, stay in a child's place. Okay. Why does the child's place always have to be with less information? If you live a life where you feel like if your kids know anything about you that they won't respect you, you should probably change whatever action it is that you're doing. When we don't check that, all of the adults that are older than us, right? All of them with their no apologies, their no explanations, their no, going back on a previous decision. You just make a decision, you just run it into the ground no matter what the consequences are, right? That's what causes this. All of this whininess out of people. Let me just say, whining is different than having an emotion. There is a difference. When you're whining, that's all you do is say the negative and cry and complain, and you wait until somebody else solves the problem for you. The appropriate alternative to that would be to speak, to illuminate what the issue is, give your proposed solution, have a set consequence on what's going to happen if it doesn't change, and follow through with it. Or you can just ignore it and not say anything. If you're not going to change anything, then don't speak on it more than once. So I hear a lot of whining, the gender war. Men whining because women won't submit. You know what submission was for? It's because you can't beat them physically. Unless, you cheat with bodybuilding and steroids or like weapons and or mobs of followers. There's lots of reasons, but the point, right? A woman can't beat a man. So that's what submission means. It means don't fight with him. Women have a problem with submission because of the consequences. If you are a person that then goes to tell a woman, well, you let him, you are a problem. She was supposed to submit. He was not supposed to ask for things that are wrong. How can any woman truly say no and mean it unless there's some support from other people? So when you get women who are saying, well, let me be in charge of my own life, then that's why. The submission was for, well, because a lot of people have other things to do. They don't have time to sit around and, help you say no to someone. We're supposed to understand it. No, you may not have the resources to fix the answer, but you're supposed to understand and say that was the right answer. You were supposed to not engage with a man in arguing and fighting. So women, that's what I think the reason is. Now, do I have a problem with the word submission? No, I have a problem with who's using it and how. You don't get submission unless you have proved yourself to be a leader, which means other men who are competing with you are supposed to tell you no, and then you can't beat them. That's not always physical. You know why mentally the man will win? It's because there's a code that comes from other men who know that if need be, things could get physical and you would lose. As a woman, we have a lot of things to manage. Just being a woman, all of the natural things that happen to us, it takes time and energy to manage all of that. So we aren't going to have as much free time, which means if they're using their free time appropriately, they're always going to know more things than us because we have other things we have to do. We're supposed to be a listening gender, an attentive gender. And that sometimes helps too in a culture. If you're moving and shaking all the time, you're building and creating, you're busy. You can't watch everybody else. So we watch, we pay attention, we know, we understand, and we express, we tell you. What you do with that information is on you. and you hold those consequences, not us. Stop asking me to do masculine things. I don't ask you to do feminine things. And I want y'all out of my way. Just like I'm sure y'all probably want women out of your way. See, I didn't say me because I'm not in your way. I minded my business. I literally mind my business and the business of that around me and the business that's interested. Anyway, so with all of this being said, success. I think that there are levels to success, but initially there is a pass fail. Kind of like grading, right? In school. Once you get a 70, you passed, but then you get the A plus, you get more stuff, more leeway, more benefit of the doubt. But once you get over that 70, you did in fact pass. And it's okay once you're an adult, once you're not in school, if you're content with the life, once you meet that 70, but you have to actually meet the 70. So to me, marriage is higher up than just passing. It's a wonderful thing. However, we have to make sure that our kids know that there are things you have to achieve before that. And that's still a good thing. If you